100 years ago, miners went into the desert and buried millions of dollars worth of treasure. Today, we're just beginning to dig it up. This is the story of that treasure. This is the 1880s Nevada Napa episode, along with Blue Gold, now on Denim. Not many folks cared about old Levi's until at least the 1950s. Around then, collectors in Japan were looking for classic-era Levi's where they could find them. Thanks to their collecting, we have records of Levi's dating back to the early 20th century. But then, in the 1990s, Levi's began the hunt for the oldest pair of thems, known as the Send Them Home search. Levi's was commissioning fans to hunt down what would be the oldest pair. Heath Rackley won the contest with a pair of circa 1930s. This was recreated as the Heaths in the LVC collection. It has sewn-on flaps in the rear pocket. Now, it wasn't the oldest at the time. The archives actually had the 1890s calico pairs since the 1940s. But the main point was that this contest invigorated the American interest in finding 19th century jeans. This would shift the focus back to miners and high-end auction sales. To date, as of 2023, the oldest pair of jeans in the Levi's collection is from 1879. It is known as the Double X. The Double X were dug up by professional denim hunters. And this is where our story takes us next. Russ Miller and Mike Harris, aka the Denim Hunters, went straight to the source. They figured there was probably good finds at abandoned mining camps. And it turns out they were right. In the same way that modern archaeologists are more interested in human poop remains than in golden artifacts, finding the trash and ripped clothing tells us more. It's thanks to these digs that we have more evidence of what different 19th century jeans looked like and how folks back then wore and used them. We can see where they ripped, what stains they had. And this can tell us about their lives and that time, as well as help us recreate garments for the collection. Mike Harris lends out his collection to LVC so they can accurately reproduce the items. You can see more of the Denim Hunters in the documentary Blue Gold, or check out their book, Jeans of the Old West. The finds are still going on, and anyone with a shovel and some patience could be the next to dig up a priceless denim artifact. A pair of 1886 Double X jeans were discovered in an abandoned mine 20 years ago. This is known as the Bodie pair. Then 10 years later, on a visit to that location in Bodie, California, Levi's historian Tracy Panic implemented her superpowers and found an 1890s pair of 203s in the walls of an old tavern. They had been used to insulate the building during a winter ages ago. More recently, Brent Underwood dug up a 100-year-old pair in 2021. Just this last year, in 2022, a pair of 1850s Levi's pants are discovered. You know, it's not always gold nuggets that you should be seeking. Remember, there's a lot of wealth in panning for flakes. And even this year, fragments of jeans were uncovered and fetched tens of thousands of dollars on collectors' markets. I really like these fragments. I think they make a nice collection. I'd like to see something like that on my wall. Now, if you want to go denim hunting in the Old West, then look for ghost towns in California, Nevada, Oregon, Arizona. If you can get access to the mines, then you can find some straight blue gold. If you can't get access, then start digging in the areas for old trash heaps. There's bound to be a pair of 1873 first blue jeans out there. That would be the holy grail. I'm gonna go all Indiana Jones and say they belong in a museum. Levi's Archives has a lot of items, but there are plenty more in well-kept private collections. I can't wait to hear about your collection. Leave a comment. The cut of the 19th century Levi's is known as the Davis cut. It's a straight leg. Remember, distressed pairs don't shrink. Only the rigid and natural indigo unfinished will. The raw denim that you can shrink. I think that they fit tighter than true to size. So you can upsize. If you're a 30, then you can slip into a pairs of 31 or even 32s. Because remember, you'll want to use the cinch. Cinches can make pants about a full size smaller in the waist. You don't need to use the entire cinch, you honestly only want to use a little bit of it. You can fit into slightly bigger than what you are. I'm glad my father-in-law is able to model these because he's very tall and you can see how the nap-abs look cut off at the ankles. Someone more average height like myself, you wouldn't even notice it, they would just be a regular pair of pants. I usually jump right into the different recreations that you can buy, but I'd like to take a moment and talk about the variations of historical pairs that we have. In 1998, a pair of XX jeans dug up in Nevada. They were bought on Levi's via eBay in 2001 for $45,000. Since they came from Nevada, they earned the name the Nevada jeans. This gave a lot of insight as to the historical details. Then, in 2001, a pair were discovered and a few years later ended up in the Levi's archives. They came from Tonopah, Nevada. They are known as the Tonopah jeans. The name of the street where the mine holding them is Knapp Avenue. Thus, the name Knapp Avs. These recreations are some of the most historically accurate you can buy. Within the last decade, another pair of 1880s was discovered. This pair is very intact. You can see some of the tones of dark rigid. These are known as the New Nevadas. They were recreated for the 2017 lookbook. And of course, there's the one-legged pair. This is LVC design director Paul O'Neill's favorite pair. He says they tell a story. What that story is yet to be uncoded. I like to think it was eaten by a bear. Either way, just a fun sight, and the reason I used it on the thumbnail. There are rigid pairs of the 1880s. They come in more historically accurate with sewn-on buttons and less historically accurate with shank buttons. Most of these pairs will be included in what we call limited editions, where they are numbered 1 out of 500, 1 out of 130. These are definitely pairs that are meant to be distressed. You're meant to see details such as the green patina of the copper on the rivets. You're meant to see lots of fades and rips and even stains throughout. But if you want to wear them, then that is a wonderful deal. I think they are still a wearable pair of jeans. This Old West pair isn't limited edition. Medium distress, lots of rips, nice whiskering in the knees. The book, A Researcher's Approach to Levi's Jeans, features a historical pair of sample jeans. You can see the center patch. You can see the exposed rivets. Absolutely adorable. And speaking of which, I'm not sure if they were ever made, but there's a mini scorched pair. Little Levi's vintage for toddlers. Absolutely marvelous. While there are a few other limited editions, there are two I'd like to focus on. One being this boxed limited edition. It is a distressed pair. You can see that coffee stain. You can see the nice fading. Then the Knapp Av. The Knapp Av are a very special pair. They're a different pair of 1880s discovered. They give you these extra features such as a bandana, a tote bag. The tote bag tells you the story of it. The bandana has these very interesting symbols on it made from natural indigo. And the best part is these scraps of denim at the ankles that they had cut off. Historically, the miner would have used these to hold his pickaxe if he didn't have gloves. But there's several other reasons they would have done them. I think they look great if you frame them with the legs and put them on your wall. I think they look good on their own. I think the scraps themselves look pretty good. Yeah, and this kind of takes me into a new realm of something I would like to see, or that I really wish that Levi's Vintage Clothing had done in their run, which is to make fragments of jeans that have these little features such as an old rivet, buttons, or a patch. Made these framed, unframed fragments of historical denim, even if they're just recreations. I think it's something that someone like myself would love to display. I don't think I could really have the safe keeping for such a valuable historical item, but a fragment? Yeah, I could. What do you guys think about the fragments? Would you like to have historical recreations of denim fragments to display in your collection? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about the details of the 1880s pairs, because I think this pair is one of the very special in the history of the 501s. It's these and the 1944s that you get these extra details, oddities that were only done once and then disappeared. The 1880s have all the historical features such as white selvage, old style patch, cinch, patent date rivets, but they also feature a few oddities such as a ruler pocket. Now basically there are two pairs of 1880s. There are the recreations of the Nevadas found in 1998 and the Tonopah pairs found in 2001, aka the Napav. The Napavs are pretty historically accurate, while the Nevadas were first made more wearable, and eventually the details became more and more historically accurate. Fly and suspender buttons. Okay, this is a big one to talk about. Sewn-on buttons. Some of the Nevadas will have shank buttons, some will have sewn-on buttons. Now the Napav goes the extra mile and gives you unbranded buttons to show you how they would have been replaced over time. Sewn-on buttons are not super trustworthy. They pop off and you need to find and restitch them, but then you sew them too tight and it becomes hard to use. I get it. What I am angry about with these so far is how LVC makes these from cheap metal alloys. They're not sturdy steel buttons. They break, and I doubt they are authentic. They need to make them with higher quality steel. I know a lot of people who want a triple pleated blouse, but the cheap sewn-on buttons are basically a problem stopping them. The waist-high watch pocket. It's a little above where it currently is, basically within the belt line. Remember, belts wouldn't become commonplace for another 50 years. The Napav pair come with denim pockets. Denim pockets are ultra sanitary, sturdy, historical. You'll see them on the first blue jean 150th anniversary and in one pair of the 1944 limited edition. Perfect imperfections. The more historically accurate pairs, such as the Napav, come with what I like to call the fuzzy wuzzies. This strands of denim, I believe it's more known as a mock felt inseam. They switched to a felled inseam about 1910. You can see some recreations, older Made in America 1890s pairs that have these. Some of the newer pairs do not have these, but it is more historically accurate, and it has a nice softer feel on the inside. These last few details I've mentioned are a couple of these oddities within the historic era that you'll only find within the 1880s pairs, but you'll also see them in the 150th anniversary 1873 first blue jeans coming out this spring. A ruler pocket on the side. Is this the granddaddy of cargo pants? The 1870 duck pants are the other pair to have this side ruler pocket. Patent style duck and denim leather patch in the center. We're unsure where the patch was originally, if it was on the right side and then moved to the center, or if it was originally in the center and in the 1890s moved to the right side. Rivets with patent date. Many of the more historically accurate pairs have flattened rivets. This was due to the manual hammering of them in. The patent date is what Levi's company celebrated when it began in the 1870s and throughout the 1880s. Of course, when we celebrate 501 Day, we are celebrating the patent date, May 20th, 1873. Since the patent was only good for 17 years, it didn't seem right to keep stamping it on there. However, nowadays, 1873 is still the date that we look forward to. There's a poke cinch. If you're curious about how to use your cinch, you can always watch my video on it. Single rear pocket with exposed rivets and single needle arcuate. 9-ounce white selvage, sometimes called plain selvage. Some of the older, less accurate pairs were made with a 11.5-ounce denim. I really like a 9-ounce denim pair of jeans. It has a light feel, it's perfect for summer. And let's not forget about the crotch rivet. You are the owner of a piece of denim history. This is one of 500 hand-numbered limited edition Nevada jeans, an exact replica of the oldest pair of Levi's blue jeans known in existence, dating back to the 1880s. The original jeans were found in a mining town in Nevada in the spring of 1998 by a man who gave them to his friend, a vintage denim collector. They were made of 9-ounce denim from the Ameskeag Mills in New Hampshire and were manufactured in one of the 2 Levi Strauss & Company's factories in San Francisco that were later destroyed in the earthquake and fire in 1906. These jeans, which predate the numbering system which identifies most Levi's jeans, were most likely worn by a miner, who probably kept a knife in the unique pocket on the left thigh. They were naturally bleached by water, sun, and perhaps also chemicals in the soil. On May 24, 2001, these historical Levi's jeans were auctioned on eBay. After an intense bidding, we finally brought them home to our San Francisco historical Levi Strauss & Company archives for the record price of $46,532. And there's where the story of your pair begins. Your jeans are a labor of love. The Levi's vintage clothing design team in Europe has intensely studied the original to replicate it with all the details, including fit, fabric construction, buttons, rivets, labeling, etc. The replica, the Nevada jean, is handcrafted in Levi Strauss & Company's oldest existing factory, the Valencia Street factory in San Francisco, built in 1906. Levi's vintage clothing replicates selected styles from the Levi Strauss & Company archives in exact detail as part of a quest to document the evolution of the blue jean and pay tribute to the lives and cultures that changed alongside it. We cannot claim that your life will change with the jeans in this box. We do hope, though, that you'll love wearing them as much as we love unraveling the secrets of the original. The Napav jeans. Your jeans are a faithful replica of the Nevada Tonopah jeans, which are preserved in a fireproof safe in the Levi Strauss & Company archives in San Francisco. The original waist overalls were made in Levi Strauss & Company's San Francisco factory in the 1880s, with denim purchased from the Ameskeag Mill in Manchester, New Hampshire. They are from the same time as the famous Nevada jeans that Levi Strauss & Company bought back in 2001 for $46,532. Original Nevada Tonopah jeans were found in a silver mine near the town of Tonopah, located about 200 miles from Las Vegas. They had been cropped, almost shredded below the knee. Our company historian believes that they were torn at the knee and then the wearer cut off the bottom part of the leg. He probably used the denim pieces to protect his hands from the blistering of hard labor or to patch up another pair of jeans. The original Nevada Tonopah jeans were purchased from a vintage clothing dealer in the summer of 2001. Now, in 2008, we are reproducing them for the first time, true to the original in every way. Here's a special treat for my letter collection. It's an actual letter from the Levi Strauss & Company written in 1882, and you can see what their letterhead from the era looked like. The letters are a strong piece running throughout all of these 501 series, apart since the very beginning. The 1880s jeans are pure historic. They have all these oddities that you won't find in any of the classic or modern pairs. They're not particularly wearable, especially the ones with sewn-on buttons. Those tend to fall off easily. But if you have a home collection, this really fill it out by showing off these historic details in there. It is a fun pair to wear. It is a fun pair to have up on your wall and a fun story to learn about. I think Levi's really missed an opportunity at just selling fragments of these jeans. Frame them, put them on your wall, and show the fragment of just where the patch is, or the buttons, or the rivets. Maybe with the LVC line coming to an end, you will see actual LVC pairs having that done and what's left of them. If you've got a pair of Nevadas, let me know how you like them. Do you wear them out into occasions? Are they just for on your wall? Thank you, Patreon members, for your support. Get in on the action for as little as $1 a month. To all your digging adventures, I'm Den. Thanks for watching Den and Denim. Love your jeans.